How would you describe yourself? Would you use descriptive words like intelligent, funny, or nerdy? Or would you be more specific with terms that link you to a larger community, like religious, liberal, or your profession? I would tell you that I'm a white, athletic, intelligent young girl. When you first meet someone, you tend to fit others into stereotypes, boxes, and labels. Psychologists used to believe that only closed minded individuals automatically restricted people into stereotypes. But surprisingly, scientists have discovered that every person holds beliefs based on their own truth and experiences that reinforce the stereotype. Perspectives are different for everyone based on the individual's beliefs on issues like race, gender, religion, sexuality, and class. And how you respond to these issues depicts how you'll respond to people. Stereotypes and biases attempt to simplify our social world into categories, which are easier for the human mind to comprehend. Today, I would like to talk about how labeling and classifying people can have a horribly negative effect on the individual. I would like to start by telling you my story and my experience with labels. I was taught that labels define who you would become. I was around four, it was around fourth grade when I became aware of how prevalent labels are in our society. Some of them you can't help, like your race and class, but the ones that really interested me were the ones you got to choose. So I began my quest to grab as many communal labels as possible: the smartest in school, the most athletic, and the most generous person in my friend group. Using these activities, I started labeling myself and trying to fit into what everyone else told me about these labels. I first did this with the term nerd. I obsessed over the stereotypical nerd life and tried to copy it to the best of my ability. Reading 8 books a month, getting perfect grades, being antisocial, I did it all. I needed to perfectly fit the stereotype so I could be someone in the larger picture of things. And so there could be something special about me that fit into society's roles for us all. You see, communities are brought together through these words, and now more than ever, these communities are essential to cultural development. A group of young activists can find each other online through a common hashtag like hashtag Black Lives Matter. The negative effects start up when we assume that someone of said community represents the whole community, or the other way around. Inflicting expectations and stereotypes on someone based on a label or a community they belong to not only objectifies that person, but pigeonholes them more and more into their own label. This is where language and labels limit us as creative, fluid beings. Each one of us are unique and special to the human race, simply because none of us can ever completely conform to a label. I was introduced to the LGBTQ plus community in 6th grade when one of my closest friends told me she was gay. I then asked questions and started to idolize my lesbian friend because her pretty new label was getting her so much attention. And me, as a label obsessed insecure 12-year-old, was jealous. I had always liked girls, but didn't know that there was a whole community of people built around self-chose terms, and I wanted to be a part of it. Through learning new identifiers and finding friends, slowly I disassociated the labels from the people and connected them back to the cultural and societal change we wanted to see. I was constantly changing my label, never feeling completely at home with one. When the label couldn't fit me, I tried to alter myself to be the most accurate version of said stereotype. When I identified as a lesbian, I would hate myself for even thinking about boys and forced myself to wear snapbacks. When I couldn't mold myself into my newly acquainted label, I would claim a new one, this time thinking that this word will work. And so it would repeat, and I would try on new personas, trying to appease assumptions. The LGBTQ plus community I belonged to pressured me to determine my label in order to accurately represent that part of the community. I had never felt more pigeonholed or alone. My labels were no longer my heroes, they were my prison. Confused youth who are questioning their sexuality or gender identity are twice as likely to attempt suicide. This relates back to a person's perspective and worldview of their situation. A young queer boy would feel pressure to act feminine when he was surrounded by other queer boys acting that way. Group mentality as well as self-inflicted bias contributes to how someone acts in the public eye. These changes backfire on the individual when they try to represent a group over representing themselves. When you factor in stereotypes and objective discrimination, labeling people can become a strong factor in the rising rate of suicide among minorities. So you're probably wondering, if it is instinct to label each other, how can we stop stereotyping? We have to look at ourselves singularly rather than part of a larger group. I thought that being part of these changing communities was the only thing that made me me. I relied so heavily on my own bias for validation just to realize that labels shouldn't define me as an individual. Labels are simply words to express feelings and ideals we experience that connect us to others. I shouldn't be defined by my labels, but rather my dreams, hopes, laughs, loves, passions, and personal ideals about my own life. The hardest part above all is trying not to put labels on ourselves so that no one is ever confined to a box. Thank you.